Welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host Yeshi. Here are the headlines. BRICS commit to strengthen ties, demand patent waiver on vaccines in the interest of global welfare. Japan Sitamuro onsen converts as workation amid pandemic. And early rains bring cheer to paddy growers in Nepal. The BRICS nations have jointly called for intellectual property rights waiver on vaccine, something which is under consideration at WTO. They have also urged to invoke the flexibilities of the TRIPS agreement. The grouping, while deliberating over equitable distribution of vaccines, also came up with the communique stating that it was the time when the rules-based world order was created and followed. Just to remind you viewers, the C in BRICS stands for China, and it is talking about rules, respect and global welfare.
To the BRICS Foreign Ministers meeting.
Chaired by Indian Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar, a virtual BRICS Foreign Ministers Conference was held to discuss the political and economic roadblocks created by the pandemic. On the 15th anniversary of the foundation year of the grouping, all sides reaffirmed their commitment to further strengthen ties between them at bilateral as well as multilateral level to respond more effectively to the crisis. The BRICS brings together 5 of the largest developing countries of the world, representing 41% of the global population, 24% of the global GDP, and 16% of the global trade. All sides came to the consensus of sharing vaccine doses, transfer of technology, development of local production capacities and supply chains for medical products, and promotion of price transparency. They also called for timely operationalization of the BRICS Vaccine and Research Development Center.
We strive for a fair, just, inclusive, equitable, and representative multipolar international system. It is one based on international law and the UN Charter that recognizes the sovereign equality of all states and respects their territorial integrity while displaying mutual respect for interests and concerns of all.
The most important takeaway of the BRICS conference was the consensus drawn by all members over the requirement of waiver on vaccines. India and South Africa have been raising the issue of TRIPS, that is, trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, waiver for COVID-19 vaccines. All BRICS countries agreed to support this measure and called for supporting ongoing consideration in WTO on a COVID-19 vaccine intellectual property rights waiver and the use of flexibilities of the TRIPS agreement and the Doha Declaration on TRIPS agreement and public health. 5 ministers also agreed that in order to address common challenges, a rule-based international system should be strengthened. A number of observers argue, but China believes and states that it has regarded all the global rules and has been a flag bearer of true multilateralism. Chinese Minister Wang Yi said certain countries are adopting fake multilateralism and putting their own interests above all else.
Our cooperation mechanism has been continuously improved and expanded. International influence has been increasing, especially in areas like the economy, trade and finance, political security, and people-to-people exchanges. This has set an example of cooperation among emerging markets and countries. Facing the pandemic, the BRICS countries have demonstrated resilience and vitality and maintained the momentum of cooperation. This has provided an important example not only for our 5 countries, but the world in the fight against the pandemic and restoring the economies.
While Beijing has been educating others on rules and order, it is accused by not one but several countries of disregarding their territorial integrity. One of them is BRICS member India, with which it has been involved in repeated military standoffs. While some believe that BRICS could be a platform that can bridge the divide created between the two in the past few months, others feel it is just a symbolic exercise, bringing nothing substantive on the table.
Freedom of speech is alarming and endangered in Pakistan. Some even say it disappeared long ago. Well, what else can be expected from a country that is as good as vassal state of China? People backing or seeking freedom of speech and dissent have been targeted through a systematic crackdown by the establishment. From physical assaults to loss of employment to arbitrary inquiries against them, the defenders of free speech are facing it all. Hamid Mir, a renowned journalist, is the latest in the line feeling the heat of daring to speak the truth.
Hamid Mir, a prominent Pakistani journalist, was sent off here by Geo News Network following his comments against Pakistan's deep state of the army and its increasing role in media censorship in the country. This comes in line with Prime Minister Imran Khan's military-influenced government cracking down on critics and dissenters. Mir had earlier participated in the anti-establishment demonstrations carried out to criticize the attack on another journalist, Asad Ali Tur, by some unidentified men. The men allegedly sent by Pakistani army had assaulted and tortured him at his home in capital Islamabad. Hamid Mir was one of the prominent voices who headed the campaign that followed to demand the freedom of speech, right to dissent and protection from extrajudicial measures to shut their voices.
We have come here to condemn the brutal attack on 3 media workers in Karachi yesterday, and I have come here to express my anger on those people who says that we want to negotiate with those terrorists who have accepted the responsibility of the murder of three media workers. I think that the government should make a difference very clearly and announce it, that what is their policy.
Although Prime Minister Khan and the military deny the accusation, the data collected in Little over the past 1 year is contrasting and disturbing. As per a report published by Pakistan-based NGO Media Matters for Democracy, a sharp growth has been recorded in the number of suspicious deaths of journalists. Many others have been arrested and detained arbitrarily for reporting the truth. Earlier, New York Times reported that in the last 5 years, as many as 11 journalists have been killed in Pakistan, 7 of them since Imran Khan became the Prime Minister. Several protest rallies have been carried out in the wake of the attack on Asad Ali Tur, but they seem to have been ineffective as of now. Journalists have threatened that they will start exposing what they have so far kept under carpets in the name of the country.
आज से 10 साल पहले जब हम बलूचिस्तान जाते थे, वहाँ के सहाफ़ी हमें कहते थे कि बहन 10 साल बाद जब आपके पास ये हालात होंगे तो फिर ना कहिएगा, आवाज़ उठाएं। यहाँ पे हमें अपने घरों के अंदर घुस के, हमारे दफ्तरों के अंदर घुस के हमें कत्ल किया जा रहा है। इरशाद मस्तोई को अपने दफ्तर के अंदर घुस के लोगों ने कत्ल कर दिया। पहले चोर छोटी चोरी करता है, फिर बड़ी चोरी करता है। अब ये इधर तक आ गए हैं और ये पैगाम मैं देना चाहती हूँ जो हमें पाठ पढ़वाते हैं पेट्रियटिज्म का, उब्बुल वतनी का, कि अगर हमने आपकी दास्तान सुनानी शुरू कर दी कि इस मुल्क में आपने क्या क्या किया है, आपके क्या खिदमात हैं, तो आपको मुंह छुपाने की जगह नहीं मिलेगी।
Pakistan's track record in press freedom has gone from bad to worse over the years. The 2020 World Press Freedom Index, compiled by Reporters Without Borders, reported that Pakistan was at 145th place out of 180 countries, and the ranks have only declined under Khan's administration. Some observers say that Pakistan has been following Beijing's model when it comes to handling criticism and predict a similar situation in the country if the tacit yet widely known alliance of military and civil leadership is not reined in time.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
As Thailand grapples with a third wave of coronavirus, many people are choosing to stay close to home, and visitors to the How Hu Open Zoo have become far and few. Seenlata Supat 11 is one of few who visit. She takes a keyboard and plays Thai popular songs to the lemurs, meerkats and zebras. The animals at the zoo in eastern Chonburi province react in different ways. The ring-tailed lemurs hop onto her instrument and even press buttons. They ride around on the back of her alligator costume. Others seem to enjoy listening and sometimes sway to the music. The zoo has seen visitors fall by about 70% as a result of the outbreak during the majority of Thailand's coronavirus cases, and deaths have been reported. The zoo is in discussion to make the live music shows a once-a-week event for the animals to keep them from getting bored. With just a few text messages, Jakarta food stall owner Husaifa is able to get all her business essentials refilled from a motorbike courier. From cooking oil to dish soap, the 52-year-old has been a customer of Cyclus, a startup company that refills household goods for about a year. And Husaifa said she's happy to be saving money. The products offered by Cyclus are 20% cheaper than market prices because customers no longer need to pay for packaging, said Cyclus' 28-year-old founder and CEO Jane Bon Robino. Cyclus means cycle in Bahasa Indonesia. Customers order through text message or on the company's app, with a delivery man typically arriving within a few hours. The aim of the company, which started in 2019, is to reduce the usage of products that are packaged in sachets, particularly among lower income communities. Selling for around 800 rupiah, single-use sachets give some of the poorest people in Asia access to everyday household essentials, but they also generate a significant amount of waste, clogging waterways and oceans. Indonesia generates approximately 7.8 million tons of plastic waste annually, with 4.9 million tons of waste mismanaged. Nepal airlifted the mortal remains of an American climber who fell to his death at Mount Everest Camp 4. Puwai Liu, the 55-year-old American mountaineer, was the first death at the Everest this season. Organizers said that Liu's body was first carried to Camp 2nd by Sherpas, and from there it was airlifted on a helicopter. The body will be sent to Liu's home after the post-mortem. The Himalayan nation, which earns millions of dollars from climbers every year, closed the mountain in March 2020 due to pandemic, but reopened for this year's climbing season that started in April. It issued a record 408 permits to the climbers attempting to scale 8,848.86 meter peak.
Moving on to Japan, where Itamuro Onsen has converted into a workation amid pandemic. Workation word stands for work and vacation for much refreshed environment.
Itamuro Onsen in Japan's Nasushiyobara city is a famous tourist destination with hot springs and picturesque views. The area has a number of hotels. Due to coronavirus, few tourists are coming to this city. However, some visitors are coming here for remote working. Rei Oishi is a web designer. She is staying in the hotel where she is doing her office work without going to her office building in a much refreshed environment. This kind of lifestyle is called workation. The word combines work and vacation.
今回初めてワーケーションの、旅に来てみたんですけども、板室温泉を選んだのは東京から 距離が近くて、だいたい電車で1時間ちょっとぐらいで来れるっていうことと、あともすごく自然が豊かだっていうのを聞いていて、で、来てみたらどうかなっていうお話を伺ったので、今回来てみたというところですね。来てみたらとても静かなお部屋の中で集中して仕事もできるし、逆に外窓開けると川の流れが聞こえてきたり、すごく自然を感じながらも仕事できるし、ちょっと休憩とかもできるので、いいじゃないっていうふうに感じています。
ワーケーションという言葉がどんどん浸透するにあたって、家族連れの方、それからご夫婦の方お見えになられるようになりまして、仕事場として一部屋、それから家族でお休むお部屋を一部屋という形のお客様が結構うちの場合にはいらっしゃいます。長い方はうちで最長10日間、はい、ご宿泊いただいたっていう方が多いですけれども、だいたい3泊から5泊、1週間という方が今メインですね。
The Travel Association of Nasushiobara is preparing to welcome customers by taking measure against the coronavirus.
那須塩原市では PCR 検査を導入してですね、ウェルカムでお客様にお越しいただける方に安心安全を提供するということで、市長をはじめですね、宿の人たちが協議をして、10月1日からですね PCR 検査を実施しております。月1回から2回、まずは安心安全の確認を従業員ともども検査を受けております。
Japan is famous for the concept of long working hours. However, the pandemic situation has positively contributed to reduce stress among employees and raise their productivity by concepts like working vacation.
Now we take you to Japan's Tokyo city, where workout while playing video games is becoming popular amid the pandemic.
Gaming companies of Japan have achieved record sales last year. That is because people stayed at home due to the pandemic. As people stay indoors due to coronavirus, companies are presenting their games and devices as a way to beat the lockdown blues and remain socially distant through virtual reality. This youngster is doing exercises like running, jogging and push-ups. His coach is the electronic game, while his parents play the role of fan. Sakuraji's family bought an electronic gaming device after the corona pandemic, which is helping family members regain fitness as they are staying indoors in the midst of the pandemic.
私も結構今運動不足を感じてまして、年齢も上がってくるので何か運動したいなと思ってて、こう家で手軽にできるのってすごくいいなと思って、ちょっと続けたいと思います。ジムもちょっと今怖いですよね。同じものを皆さんで使うっていうのが。で、家族だったらもう大丈夫だと思って消毒もしやすいですし、あと人の目も気にならないですね。いくらこうバーってやってても。なのでジムよりかはこっちの方がコスト面でもいいかなと思います。安全面でもコスト面でも。
Other games enable families to have fun together. By connecting this device to the internet, children can play with their friends virtually and remotely.
同じゲームでそのゲーム内にインターネット通信とかがあって、例えばスイッチ内のフレンドとかを招待してやるみたいな感じで、本当にだからつながろうと思えば誰とでもつながれちゃう感じです。カメラはつけられないですね。だからつけたい時とかは本当に別の連絡ツールとか使って通話しながらやったりとかして。
With its famous heroes, Japanese electronic games have entered almost every house since the 1980s, and they are now promoting their games to overcome the social distancing imposed by the pandemic.
基本的には家から出ないようにっていうことで、友達と、家族と、遊べるパーティーゲームが結構中心に入れてますね。あとはオンラインで楽しむゲームも、よく売れてるかなと思いますね。
Electronic games are usually meant for recreation, but during the pandemic, it has also become a way to counter depression and boredom during the pandemic.
Let's now move on to Nepal, where the farmers are happy because of early rainfall. In Bhaktapur city near the capital Kathmandu, the paddy growers are happy as they have started early plantation of the crop. Take a look. Terraced slopes of Changunarayan Hill echoed with the chattering of farmers in a melody. They have started early planting of paddy saplings due to favourable pre-monsoon rains. While carrying out their routine of cultivation, the farmers now celebrate the time singing and splashing muddy water on each other in joy. Early rainfall has ensured the availability of water in slopes in the outskirts of capital Kathmandu. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, farmers this time are enthralled and excited as compared to previous years.
रोपाई चाहिँ अब हाम्रो यो समयसम्म अब उत्पादन गरेर धान उत्पादन गरेर खानको लागि भनौँ न एउटा हुन्छ नि एउटा सबैले यो हाम्रो चाहिँ नि जेठ र असारमा 2 महिनामा रोपाई सिद्धिन्छ 2 महिना भित्रमा रोपाई सिद्धिन्छ अहिले चाहिँ अलि चाँडै भयो वर्षाको कारणले अलि चाँडो भएको हुनाले
Plantation of paddy saplings is known as ropain in Nepali. It is primarily dominant during the monsoon season that starts from mid-June. Ropain songs are dominantly heard during the month of June, which might last till July, the high time for farmers to do their cultivation. As per Nepal's Meteorological Forecasting Division, monsoon has already set off in Nepal from 1st of June, which will continue for about 3 months. In Nepal, the paddy is cultivated from the height of 60 meters above the sea level in Terai to 3000 meters off the hills in Jumla's Chumchor. Nepal annually produces about 5.5 million metric tons of paddy, while the consumption stands at 7 million metric tons. Last year, Nepal produced a total of 5.55 million metric tons from 1.45 million hectares of land. It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Yeshi signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.